Namaskara everyone. I am Saurav Kumar Singh and my equation is 1VE22CS141. Today I am going to talk about world longest written constitution, which is Indian Constitution. So let's get in. So what are the objectives to make this video? In my views, there are three objectives. The first one is to know about basics of Indian Constitution. The second one is to understand brief functioning of our country. And the third one is to analyze our knowledge with few MCQ at the end of each and every topic. So what are the contents which we are going to see in this video? The first one is brief introduction to Indian Constitution. The second one is role of Constituent Assembly. The third one is fundamental rights and its restrictions. The fourth one is Union Executive and Parliamentary systems. The fifth one is Judicial System of India, Supreme Court of India and other courts, election and electoral process. So let's start. So the first topic is brief introduction to Indian Constitution. So basically, what is Constitution? A constitution is defined as a set of written rules that are accepted by all the people living together in the country. Means that there are some rules and regulations in our homes. When we have to go out, when we have to come to the home. So like this, there are some rules and regulations in the country which is accepted by all the people living in a country. It determines the relationship between the people and the government. Means that like in our home, how we behave to our elders and the parents, which determine the relationship between our parents and us. Like this only, the constitution help us to make a relationship between the government and the people living in that country. Okay, like every country has their own constitution. India has also their own constitution, which is known as Indian Constitution. How our constitution made and looks like? Let's see. The cover page of our constitution look like this, and this is our Indian Constitution. The Constitution of India is formed by the Constituent Assembly of India in the period of 3 years, which was 1946 to 1949. Initially, there were total 389 members in the Constituent Assembly from December 1946 to June 1947. But later, from August 1947 to January 1950, there were only 299 members in the Constituent Assembly. Sachchidanand Sinha was the temporary chairman of the Constituent Assembly, and Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the president of the Constituent Assembly, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the chairman of the drafting committee. Take a little glance of Indian Constitution. The Indian Constitution was adopted on 26 November 1949. And it came into the force 26 Jan 1950. Means that it was completed by the Constituent Assembly 26 November 1949. But it came into the force on 26 Jan 1950. Presently, it has 448 articles with 12 schedules after 104 amendments. But earlier it was 395 articles with 8 schedules at the time of adoption. Earlier there were 22 parts in it, but after 2021 there is 25 parts. It provides 6 fundamental rights to all citizens of India. Indian Constitution is the longest written constitution in the world. The features of Indian Constitution was taken from nearly 60 constitutions which were present at that time. Our second topic is role of Constituent Assembly. What is Constituent Assembly? The Constituent Assembly of India was elected to write the Constitution of India. Means there was an assembly which is formed to make the Constitution of India and serve as its first parliament. And that assembly was served as the first parliament of India. It was set up as a result of negotiation between the leaders of the Indian independence movement and members of British cabinet mission. The assembly was set up to make the negotiation between Indian independent movement and the members of British cabinet mission. Take a little glance of Constituent Assembly. It was formed on 9 December 1946 and disbanded on 25 Jan 1950. There were 389 members from December 1946 to June 1947 and 299 members from August 1947 to Jan 1950. Later it was succeeded by Parliament of India from 1950 and the Constituent Assembly of Pakistan from 1947. Now the leadership of the Constituent Assembly was like this. The Sachidanand Sinha was the temporary chairman of the Constituent Assembly. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the president of the Constituent Assembly and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the chairman of drafting committee. This was the seal of Constituent Assembly. Now it's the time for question and answer. So the first question is the main role of Constituent Assembly of India formed, and the options are drafting and adopting the constitution, enforcing laws and regulation, electing the President of India, and conducting election in the country. So the correct answer is drafting and adopting the constitution. The second question is, when was Constituent Assembly of India formed? 1946, 1947, 1949 or 1950? As we know that it was formed on 1946. The third question is, how long did the Constituent Assembly take to draft the Indian Constitution? First option is 1 year, second one is 2 years, third one is 3 years, the fourth one is 4 years. So the correct answer is 3 years. The fourth question is, who was the chairman of the drafting committee of Constituent Assembly? The first option is Mahatma Gandhi, the second one is Jawaharlal Nehru, the third one is Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and the fourth one is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So the correct answer is B.R. Ambedkar. The fifth question is, the Constituent Assembly of India is known for its diversity and indiversity, authoritarian rule, religious discrimination, short duration. So the correct answer is diversity and indiversity. Now the third topic is fundamental rights and its restrictions. So what are the fundamental rights? Fundamental rights are the basic human rights enshrined in the Constitution of India, which are guaranteed to all citizens. Means these are the some basic rights which are given to all the citizens of the country. They are applied without discrimination on the basis of race, religion, gender, etc. Means it is given to all without any discrimination. Significantly, fundamental rights are enforceable by the courts subject to certain conditions. So, how many fundamental rights do we have? There are total 6 fundamental rights provided to us by our Constitution in Article 12 to 35 under Part 3. And they are, the first one is right to equality, the second one is right to freedom, the third one is right against exploitation, the fourth one is right to freedom of religion, the fifth one is culture and education rights, and the last one is right to constitutional remedies. Can our fundamental rights be restricted? Yes. Parliament can impose reasonable restrictions on fundamental rights. Means that in some time the Parliament can impose some restriction on the fundamental rights on the basis of some reasonable grounds. Fundamental rights listed in Part 3 of the Constitution are not absolute and can be restricted on reasonable grounds, as I told you, by legislation enacted by Parliament. Now is the time for question and answer. So the first question is, fundamental rights are enshrined in which part of the Constitution? The first option is Part 1, the second one is Part 2, the third one is Part 3, and the fourth one is Part 4. So the correct answer is Part 3. The second question is, how many following rights are guaranteed in the Indian Constitution? The first option is 6, the second one is 19, the third one is 1, and the fourth one is 7. So as we all know that it is 6. The first option is correct answer. The third question is, freedom of speech and expression can be restricted in the interest of. The first option is public order, the second option is national and diversity, the third option is decency and morality, and the last option is all of the above. As we all know that the correct option is all of the above. The fourth question is, which of the following is not a fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution? The first option is right to equality, the second option is right to freedom of religion, the third option is right to property, and the fourth option is right to constitutional remedies. As you all know that there is the right to equality in the fundamental rights. The second one is the right to freedom of religion, which is also there in the fundamental rights, which is given by the Indian Constitution. The fourth one is right to constitutional remedies, which is also there. So the correct option is right to property, the third one. The fifth question is the right to freedom of religious guarantee. The first option is freedom to practice any religion. The second option is freedom from religious beliefs. The third option is freedom to convert other to one's religion. The fourth option is freedom to criticize religious belief. So the correct option is freedom to practice any religion. Now our fourth topic is union executive and parliamentary system. So what is union executive parliamentary system? The union executive consists of the president, the vice president, and the council of ministers with the prime minister as the head. Means the union executive is a group in which there is the president, vice president, council of the minister of the leading government of the country with the prime minister as the head to aid and advise the president. Means that these all people works to give advice to the president and to support the president to take any decision for the country. Parliamentary system, democratic form of government in which the party or a coalition of party with the greatest representation in the parliament, which is also known as legislature, forms the government. Its leader becomes the prime minister or the chancellor. Means that parliamentary system is the system in which election happens and some people fought the election and win and goes to the legislature, which is also known as parliament, and one member from that winning party become the prime minister, who is the head of that government. The Parliament of India is divided into two groups. The Council of State, which is known as Rajya Sabha. The second one is House of People, which is known as Lok Sabha. The Rajya Sabha cannot have more than 250 members, and the Lok Sabha cannot have more than 545 members. In Rajya Sabha, the 12 members are nominated by the President, and there cannot be the more than 238 members from the state and the union territories. And in Lok Sabha, there cannot be more than 530 members elected by the people, means by the election, and 2 nominated by Anglo-Indian representative. And there cannot be more than 30 members from the union territory. From this chart, we are going to understand the Indian parliamentary system. The parliamentary system of India has the origin from Westminster system. The Indian parliamentary system has an executive branch which is comprises of the PM, the cabinet minister, and the administrative machineries. The executive branch is not separate from legislature, and the legislature is a bicameral legislature which is composed of Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. And the executive branch is called the government, and which is accountable to Lok Sabha, which could initiate no confidence movement against the government. And the Indian parliamentary system has a president who is the head of a state, and in executive branch the PM is the head of the government. So like this our parliamentary system worked in the country. Now is the time for question and answer. So the first question is, the Prime Minister is the head of, the first one is head of judiciary, the second option is head of legislature, the third option is head of a state, and the fourth option is head of the district. So the correct answer is head of the state. So the second question is, the Prime Minister is the leader of the first option is Rajya Sabha, the second option is Lok Sabha, the third option is Supreme Court, and the fourth option is State Court. As we know that the Prime Minister is the head of the government, which is in the Lok Sabha, so the correct option is Lok Sabha. So the third question is, the Prime Minister is the chief spokesman of, the first option is the government, the second option is the president, the third option is the election commission, and the fourth option is the Chief Justice of India. As we know that the Prime Minister is the head of the government, so definitely he will be the spokesman of the government. So the correct option is first one, the government. So the fourth question is, the Prime Minister is assisted by, the first option is the cabinet ministers, the second option is the chief ministers, third option is the governor, the fourth option is the president. As we know that the Prime Minister is assisted by the cabinet ministers, which are in the Lok Sabha from the same party from whom the Prime Minister is. The fifth question is, who is the governor of Karnataka? So the first option is Anj Mohammad Mian, the second one is Thawar Chand Gehlot, third option is Radha Krishnan, the fourth option is Mangu Bhai Chhagan Bhai Patel. So the correct option is Thawar Chand Gehlot. The fifth topic is Judicial System of India, Supreme Court of India, and other courts. What is judicial system? The judiciary is the system of interconnected courts that administers justice in the name of the state. It is the mechanism for the resolution of disputes and the pronouncement of punishment to the guilty. So basically the judicial system is the system in which there are the interconnected courts, in which the guilty one gets the punishment and the right one gets the justice. So this one is the Supreme Court of the India, which is the highest authority of judicial system of India. The Supreme Court is an institution that heads the judiciary in India, means that it is the highest authority of judicial system. Chief Justice of India is the head of the judiciary, means the Chief Justice of India is the head of the judicial system. Supreme Court comes in existence after the adoption of Constitution in 1950. First sitting of Supreme Court was held on 28 Jan 1950 after the adoption of Constitution on 26 Jan 1950. It is situated in New Delhi, which is the capital of India. Let's understand our judicial system through this graph. So the highest authority of the judicial system is Supreme Court. Under it, the high courts come. Now the high courts are divided into two parts. The first one is in district and session court, and the second one is in metropolitan areas. Now the district courts are divided into three parts. The first one is civil court, second one is provincial small cause court, and the third one is criminal courts, which is also known as court of session. The civil court is also known as subordinate judge courts. Now the civil court is divided into two parts. The first one is Munsif's courts and the second one is Nyay Panchayat. And the criminal court is divided into two parts. The first one is Chief Magistrates Court and the second one is Panchayat Adalats. Now the Chief Magistrate Court is divided into two parts. The first one is Judicial Magistrate and the second one is Executive Magistrate. Now Metropolitan Areas Courts are divided into three parts. The first one is Metropolitan Magistrates Court, the second one is City Civil and Session Courts, and the third one is Presidency Small Courts. So like this our judicial system is. Now it's the time for the question and answer from this topic. So the first question is, the highest judicial authority in India is the first option is Supreme Court, the second option is High Court, the third option is District Court, and the fourth option is Lok Adalat. As I told you, the Supreme Court is the highest authority of judicial system in India. So the correct option is the first one, Supreme Court. The second question is, the judges of Supreme Court are appointed by the first option is President of India, the second option is the Prime Minister of India, the third option is the Chief Justice of India, the fourth option is Parliament of India. So the correct option is President of India, who is the head of the country. So the correct option is President of India. Third question is, the Supreme Court of India was established in which year? The first option is 1947, the second option is 1950, the third option is 1971, and the fourth option is 1980. As I told you that the Supreme Court come into existence after the adoption of Indian Constitution, which was adopted on 26 Jan 1950. So the correct option is 1950. The fourth question is, the High Court in India is also known as, the first option is state capitals, the second option is union territories, the third option is district headquarters, the fourth option is Supreme Court premises. So the correct answer is state capitals. The fifth question is, who was the first Chief Justice of India? The first option is K.V. Viswanath, second option is S.J. Kavya, the third option is Dharanjaya, the fourth option is B.V. Nagar Thanna. So the correct answer is second one, S.J. Kavya. Now the last topic is election and electoral process. So what is elections? The mechanism by which people can choose their representative at regular intervals and change them whenever they want to is called election. Means election is a process in which normal people choose their leaders through voting. Like we select our class monitors by voting in the class. By similar process in a country, people choose their representative by voting, which is known as election. In an election, the voter makes many choices. They can choose who will make laws for them. Anyone can choose their own choice leaders who will make the law for them. Let us understand the electoral process of India through this chart. The electoral process is divided into three parts. The first one is pre-election activities, the second one is election day activities, and the third one is post-election activities. So in the pre-election activities, the candidates nominate themselves for the election, and the voters get their voter identity card for the voting. So in the election day activities, include opening and closing polls, processing voters, voting and processing votes. Means that on this day, the polls open the different votes where the voter can cast their vote, and after a certain time the polls get closed. The final activity of the election day is results submitted on election through different modes like email, fax and phone to the election commission. Finally, post-election activities include publishing unofficial result on election night and certifying official result. Means after the election, the result of the voting submitted to the election commission, which is later published on the public pages, through which the people can know who is the winner of the election. So like this, the electoral process of India works. So now it's the time for the question and answer. So the first question is, what is the minimum voting age in India? The first option is 18 years, the second option is 21 years, the third option is 11 years, the fourth option is 25 years. So the correct answer is 18 years, the first one. The second question is, the system of election in India is based on, the first option is first past the post system, the second one is plurality system, the third option is preferential voting, the fourth option is proportional representation. So the correct answer is the first one, first past and the post system. The third question is, the term universal adult suffrage means, the first option is only adult with property can vote, the second option is every adult has the right to vote, the third option is only highly educated can vote, and the fourth option is adult of particular gender can vote. So the correct answer is every adult has the right to vote, the second one. Now the fourth question is, which of the following is an essential document for the voter identification in India? The first option is Aadhaar card, the second option is passport, the third option is PAN card, the fourth option is all of the above. So the correct answer is the last one, all of the above. The last question is, the process of verifying and confirming voter identity at the polling station is known as, the first option is voter registration, the second option is voter identification, the third option is exit poll, the fourth option is ballot casting. So the correct answer is the second one, voter identification. So hopefully you all enjoyed the video and get a little knowledge about Indian Constitution. So if you like the video, then please subscribe the channel. Thank you.